So it is 7, but I think we can give it just another minute or two to let some other board members and perhaps members of the public join in. Alrighty, Patrick, let me know he might be 5 or 10 minutes late, Hillary, but we do have quorum, so if you want to call to order, I think we are all set, and then I can give some Zoom protocols.
All right, it being 7:02 on February 3rd, 2022, this meeting of the Town of Reading Zoning Board of Appeals is called to order. I am the chair, Hillary Mative. With us, we have Alex Normandin, co-chair, Cy Coet, Andrew Grassberger, and we are waiting on Patrick. Do you need any more information, Andrew?
Nope, I think that'll do it. Thank you, Hillary. So I'm Andrew McNichol, staff planner for the Town Hall of Reading. I just wanted to start by noting that this meeting is being recorded and broadcasted by RCTV. The Zoom procedures will follow the normal in-person procedures as much as possible, which is that the applicant will give their presentation to the board. The board itself will ask Q&A with the applicant, and then the application will be open to public comment. We do ask that you remain on mute until you are called upon or acknowledged by the chair if you are not currently speaking. And if you do have a question or comment, please do use the raise hand features, which is found in reactions or perhaps under more for some people, I think. We also ask that if you do have a comment, please introduce yourself, name and address for the public record and for the minutes taking. And with that, I think that's all from me, Hillary, so we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, first on the agenda is case number 2201, 16 Winter Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a continuation of a public hearing through the remote and online measures above on Thursday, February 3rd at 2022 at 7 p.m. on the application of Matthew Digby pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, subsection 9, for a special permit under the Reading zoning bylaws, section 7.0, 7.3, and 7.3.2, to construct a 35-foot by 23-foot rear addition along an existing non-conforming side yard setback at the non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot for the property located at 16 Winter Street, Assessors Map 23, Lot 74 in Reading, Massachusetts. So,
I believe Mr. Matthew Digby is present for the application. And Matt, I can share your plans on screen if you wish to summarize what has occurred since the last meeting.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew, I believe there was a PowerPoint that we sent to you as well.
There is, yep. The board got that in advance. I'm happy to share that as well if you want. And
that would be great.
Okay.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. First off, let me apologize for being ill-prepared last month. I was not made aware of any objections from my abutters until the meeting itself. I expected to answer a few quick questions and move forward. And I want to apologize for not having the information in front of me. I also don't know if the plans or the scope of work properly represented what we were trying to achieve. That being said, we've gone back to the drawing board, so to speak. We've spoken with our architect, had our surveyors come back out, and we've conceded to stepping the addition back 3 feet off the original proposal. So instead of carrying the northern wall the length of the addition, we're going to stop it at the final foundation. And essentially what you see in pictures going forward from that deck portion would be stepped in 3 feet. So in essence here, we are looking for a variance of about 3 feet 6 inches. If you can go to the next slide.
And I want to correct you just a moment. We're not going for a variance on this project. It's a special
Excuse me,
permit.
a special
yes.
permit. I apologize.
Just keeping it clean.
No,
So-
let's we don't need another challenge. So 1,400 square feet, let me just put that in context. The first floor consists of a kitchen and 2 common rooms. One of used to be the dining room. However, because of the lack of space, it's now a playroom. My oldest daughter has a food allergy, and the cabinet space is really not providing for the different amounts of food that we need to have in the house. You walk into the kitchen, the countertops are all filled. More poignantly, the second floor consists of 3 small bedrooms and a 39 square foot bathroom. If you take out the toilet and the tub and the vanity, it gets awful tight in there real quick. The next slide, please. What we're going to try and do is illustrate why we feel that the addition fits the property, why we feel the addition is warranted, and go from there. So if I could have the next slide. Okay. We're roughly, assuming the addition as proposed with the new stepped in 3 feet happens, we're going to be roughly 600 feet smaller than our neighbor to the left, 12 Winter Street. We're going to be 1,800 square feet bigger than our neighbor to the right, 18 Winter Street. So plus or minus 100 square feet or so, we are smack dab in the middle of the 2 properties. If you look through the neighborhood, you can see that there's a number of large homes on the street. Across the street is a 2,300 square foot house. 4 houses down is another 2,900 square foot house. So we really don't feel like we're jumping the gun here and overstepping our bounds in a number of space. Between the trees next door and we're trying to balance the lot. In other words, once the addition gets completed, at the discretion of the board, obviously, we're going to feel like it balances the lot. Right now, everything is jammed over to the right side of the lot. We'll be stepping out to our 15-foot setback on the right, and we're hoping that that gives some more curb appeal to the home and really centers it on the property. If I could have the next slide, please. I apologize for not being able to drive the slideshow myself. Okay, right here, as you can see, 16 Winter Street is the smallest house on the street. And if you look back, you can see a number of these homes step deeply into their property. As a matter of fact, it's not uncommon for some of them to go back 16, 20 feet further than my existing. I'm sorry, excuse me. Someone say something? Nope, sorry about that. I thought that must have been my computer. So after the proposed addition hopefully is approved, we're not even going to be the furthest house stepped back on our lot. We will be somewhere between, again, almost exactly between the 2 houses left and right to us. If I could have the next slide, please. Sure, the next slide, please. There was concern about my neighbor suggesting that his house would lose property value. The houses have all tripled in value. I think that speaks for itself. I don't want to go into it any further. There was concern raised over loss of sunlight and view. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the neighborhood completely barren of trees. And you're also getting an indication by that square of what the proposed addition would look like. If you look at my house from the bird's eye view here, you'll see that I would say 55% of it is patio and deck. What we're trying to do here is just encompass those areas. So if you get a sense of the red square, and it's pretty close to scale, I can't say that it's spot on, but what we're just trying to give you a sense of here, if you look from a bird's eye view, we're not trying to overwhelm the neighborhood. We're trying to be in the same vein as the current neighborhood. So if I could have the next slide, please. One of the abutters had mentioned that there was some view issues going on with the new addition. Well, here's the view that the abutter mentioned would be blocked. What we're trying to illustrate here is the only view that's blocked is of my neighbor's patio. And that would be if you pressed your face to the glass against the rear windows of my abutter's addition and tried to really look out that window. Once the new proposed addition gets built, again, God willing, we really don't feel like it's obstructing the view again. One more slide. Here is the side of the house that we would be building the addition in. As you can see, there's really no windows on that abutter's side to block the view. All of the windows go out straight out the back. Next slide, please. Okay, here's another good representation of what the addition would look like. As you can see, we're pretty in line with all of the houses on the street. The red square, again, is a pretty good idea of what's being built. Again, I don't want to say that that's 100% in scale, but it's certainly not out of whack. You get a sense of what we're trying to achieve. We're basically encapsulating all that area that we have for deck and patio. Again, we feel it fits in with the neighborhood. As you can see from the bird's eye view, there's a number of large houses in the neighborhood. If you look at the trees in the neighborhood, sure, you can go to that next slide. Here's a great just idea of what sense we're getting. We're not dropping this thing into anyone's backyard. The house is almost completely obscured by trees. That's 7 months out of the year. If someone is in the backyard, it's not like they are staring at the back of the house. There is a number of trees surrounding the entire property. And if you can go to the next slide, please. Again, we're just trying to illustrate, this is looking from south to north, north to south and south to north. 7 months out of the year, there is a number of trees here. We don't feel like we're intruding on anyone. We don't feel like we're taking anyone's privacy. And I can have the next slide, please. Here's from the street view. If you drive down the street and you're looking down into the backyards, there's really only about a 10 or 12 foot spot as you drive down the yard that you can see into the backyard. Luckily, that happens to be obscured by an evergreen tree. So year round, from the curb, you're really not getting a sense that there's any sort of structure back there. It's obscured by trees. There's really only a brief moment from the street view that you can get a sense of how long or how deep the house goes. And again, it happens to be obstructed by trees. Can I have the next slide, please? Loss of privacy that was brought up. And again, this is part of suburban living. My neighbors can see into my backyard. I can see into my neighbor's backyard. If you look at the houses on 19 Belmont Street and 15 Belmont Street, they're at a significantly higher elevation. There's significantly fewer trees at the rear of our yards. They can look down there and see it. It's just part of suburban living. We're not on grand estates where the houses are generally packed fairly tightly, closely together. So again, we don't know that the loss of privacy is really a valid argument for the reason not to have the addition. I'll take the next slide, please. There was concern raised regarding stormwater runoff. There's no standing water in any of the yards in the neighborhood. Matter of fact, we hand dug the front deck of the property. And when we did, it was all sand. And that was great because I was digging it. And it's also great because there's tremendous drainage in the area. I do not get water in my basement. Again, there's no standing water in any of the properties. And if the building department determines that, and again, if we get the chance to move forward, that there is an issue with runoff or problems with groundwater, we already have 2 existing dry wells on the property. If the building department determines that we need more, or we need to relocate the direction that water is going, we are certainly happy to do that. I don't want standing water in my yard. I don't want standing water in any of my neighbors' yards. I've got a nice lawn. I'd like to keep it that way and go forward. Can I have the next slide, please? There was concern for the excavation in the existing trees. The existing trees on our common property line are a combination of scrub maple, crabapple, and coniferous evergreen. The area in question, we've already done a number of excavations back there. We have footings back there for an existing deck. These have all been town inspected, town approved. The other thing we'd like to bring forward here is we're not hand digging this with a shovel. We're bringing in a professional company who's going to dig and excavate the back of the yard. They're going to pour a foundation with bench footings and everything else. I cannot imagine that the company that we're using, it is their first rodeo. These guys do this type of stuff every day. I'm sure there is some literature in the contract that states about the trees, but I'm not concerned about damaging any of the trees. Again, we've dug that area, we've had it town inspected, and it's been approved. Next slide, please. There was some concerns raised about the height of the proposed addition. So once we stepped the addition back 3 feet off the property line, what that did was sharpen the pitch of the roof. So we've essentially dropped the pitch of the roof almost 1 foot off the original plans. It worked out that way. It's going to be less imposing by anybody who's concerned about that. And again, there's a number of situations where people have brought them right back from the highest point in the roof line. Can I have the next slide, please? Right here, here's an addition in the neighborhood. Its roof line is being brought back from the highest point. There's no step down. And again, we just feel like this type of stuff has been approved and we'd like to go down the same road. Can I get the next slide, please? Here's the house next to mine at 12 Winter Street. It's a beautiful home, and do not get me wrong, it is big, it is well designed, it looks great. What we're looking to do is go up to the 15-foot setback, have another nice tall property, so when you're driving down the street, you don't see this first big house and then the smallest house on the block. You have the largest house on the block and the smallest house on the block. They are right next door to each other. We feel that by going out these 16 feet, we can balance that lot. When you look at it from the curb, it looks great. You start to put everything into conforming. Matter of fact, you have a large, medium, and small as you go down the house, and then it ebbs and flows as it continues down the street. Can I have the next slide, please? Here's a house again in our property right across the street. A number of additions have been added. They're all within 15 feet of the property line. There was clearly at some point someone decided that the neighborhood could grow and they started approving these lots. We just want to continue down that same road. Can I get the next slide, please? This is where I apologize, my legalese is not great, but substantially more detrimental seems to be the board's charter. And I just want to say that I want to put forth the proposed addition complies with the other structures in the neighborhood. You can read what we wrote. We're not trying to be substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. We feel that the design has been thought out. We're trying to tuck it into the back of the house as best as possible instead of having a long, centrally located addition where it's almost inside the design, is almost walking through 2 homes. We want to eliminate all that. We're looking for a 3-foot concession from the town, or the board rather. And we feel that that's going to help us facilitate the best design possible. again, someone decided to put the 3,500 square foot house next to the 1,400 square foot house. I'm sure that they had in mind that the neighborhood would grow. We're just trying to do that. Next slide, please. So again, we're asking for a positive outcome from the board. We would like you guys to reconsider your initial thoughts. Once we put things in perspective and you get some bird's eye views of what's going on, I hope that people start to see that what we're not trying to do here is not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. We want it to be an improvement on the neighborhood. We feel like it's going to bring up everybody's house value. We're interested in staying in this town. I coach in this town. We are Reading residents. We want to continue to be Reading residents. And this is our forever home. We want it to stay that way. We're looking for some more space. So I'm at the mercy of the board, and I truly hope you guys reconsider and get a sense of what we're trying to do and think it's as great of an idea as we do. Thank you very much for your time. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Long-winded.
So usually next we ask for comments from the board. And our board members tonight, again, are Alex Normandin, Cy Coet, Andrew Grasberger, and Patrick Houghton, as well as myself, Hillary Matif. So, Alex.
Sure. Thanks, Hillary. Thank you, Mr. Digby, for the presentation. Also, going back with your architect and working to find a solution. I think that was a good move on your part, in good faith to attempt to do that. I don't really have any.
Oh, you froze.
The one thing that did kind of jump out to me, or I took note of, was the tree growths, particularly in the summertime. Being the middle of winter, it is tough to get a visualization. So thank you for providing that perspective of the existing conditions out there in the summertime. So yeah, no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Cy?
Thank you, Hillary. The last time I really did not have any fundamentally strong concerns about what you were trying to do. But I think the presentation that you had put together illustrates pretty clearly how your addition would fit into the neighborhood. And I frankly was a little surprised that it's as good as it shows. I think a lot of the concerns raised by your neighbor, I think, have been pretty much set aside with what I saw on this presentation. So I frankly don't have a single problem with what you are trying to do. I know we sent you away the last time to take a look at how you might downsize the addition a little bit, but I still would want you to meet the needs of your family. And when you're living on some of these houses in these grandfathered lots that are very small, you don't have much opportunity to go anywhere else but up or back. And I think you've pretty much accomplished that to the best of your ability, and I don't have any problem with it. And that's all I have for a comment at the moment, Hillary.
Thank you. I wanted to acknowledge Brett as our building commissioner, and I forgot to ask if he has any comments. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. I'm gonna get better.
No problem, Hillary. No, I don't have, with this being a continuance, I don't really have much on this one. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Andrew Grasberger, do you have any comments?
Yeah, definitely appreciate you coming back and, making some modifications. I think that stepping in a little farther will make, the whole side just seem a little bit less monolithic and look a little better. And yeah, I really appreciate the presentation too, and especially kind of putting it in context for the how far back your neighbors go. So I think that, yeah, this looks good to me.
Patrick?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Sorry, I was a little bit late. The slide, I did actually look at your slides beforehand too, so they did address the concerns from last time. So I really do appreciate the slides, and I'm just curious to see if there's any public comment. That's what I'd like to hear.
Wonderful.
When
Me as well. So I have to read that the testimony given before this board is taken under oath. So if you think you may want to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. This is for case 22-01. You could click, is there like a raise your hand option here, Andrew, or?
Swearing us in.
There should be, for any new members of the public, as this is a continuance, if you do wish to speak during the public comment, please just do repeat after Hillary.
Okay. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And the response is, I do.
I do.
Thank you. So this is open to the public for public comment right now. So.
Well, before we get started, right now all we can see is the plan on the screen. We can't see the other participants. We see the lot plan. There we go.
There we go.
Please state your name and your address for Andrew as well, please. So it looked like Henry and Annette were speaking.
Yes, Harry and Annette Lomas, we're directly across the street from the Digby's at number 13 Winter Street. So I see that house every day, and I've only seen improvements since the Digby's have been there. He's a meticulous landscaper and yard keeper, among other things. And I can only see that anything else that he does to the property is only going to be an improvement to the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think it does fit the neighborhood, what he wants to do.
Thank you. Morgan Steer?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Morgan Steer. Thank you. 21 Winter Street. Don't want to double down on Harry's comments. I agree with every single one of them. I'll just add, I am one of the houses that Matt didn't mention. I'm a couple down, but really close. And I am one of the monolithic footprints. The footprint of our house is about almost double as Matt's. So what he's proposing is very reasonable. I think his footprint is going to be smack in the middle of everything that's on the street, as he stated, and smaller than many still. Looks like a tax revenue increase for the town, which is a win-win for everyone. And I think it will increase the property value of every single house on the street too. And he's done a great job. So, Matt, I think you did a great job, and I wish you didn't have to make further compromise. I hope the board agrees that it's a good plan. Thanks.
Thank you.
I see Mike has his hand raised.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Storty. I am at 8 Winter Street. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm at 8 Winter Street. I am 2 houses down from Matt Digby. I just wanted to say that Matt shared the plans and with us, and we think that they fit right in on the street. We think it would be actually an improvement to the street. I think it would look great. I don't really have anything further to say. I know it's tough with these kind of city lots. I walk out in my backyard, 4 houses are looking down on me, everything I do in my backyard. So it is tough, but I think Matt's done a great job. I think that would fit right in with the street. I think these plans would fit right in with the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? I'm not seeing any further comment. So we will close the public comment portion. And does anyone from the board have any further comments? So does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll do it, Hillary.
Okay, thank you.
I would move to grant the petitioner Matthew Digby a special permit to construct, I think I have the numbers right, 32 by 23.5 foot rear addition on a non-conforming lot with a northerly non-conforming side setback of 11.9 feet on the property located at a 16 Winter Street in Reading in accordance with the certified plot plan dated January 20, 2022, prepared by DLJ Geomatics, 276 North Street in Weymouth, and the architectural drawings that were prepared by Fused Studios, 524 Westford Street in Lowell. And the 3 building conditions apply to this, which we all know. I don't know if we have to restate them or not, but I will, if I can find them.
I'm going to note that the architectural plans are D1,
Yeah.
A1, A2.
You
and
basically
A3.
have to apply for a foundation permit and a building permit and an occupancy permit as outlined in the special conditions, which will be included in the write-up of the decision.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, so that's Andrew, and all of us are voting, correct? So we'll do a roll call vote. Cy,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
and I say yes as well.
It's dynamite.
Alrighty, thank you guys. Matt, I will draft up that decision early next week, get that signed and all that, and get that to you as soon as possible.
Andrew, I appreciate that. I'd also like to thank the board for the second opportunity. I would like to thank my neighbors. You cannot believe how humbling it is to have someone speak about you in a public forum. And thank you very much for the board, across the board, pardon the pun. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Mr. Digby,
Yes,
what,
sir.
what do you coach?
Soccer,
Oh, okay.
girls 5'6" and girls 7'8".
I coach hockey, so I was just curious.
Well, maybe we'll see in a couple of years. Have a great night, guys, and thank you very much. We look forward to improving the community. And girls and guys, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda is case number 22-02, 10 Plymouth Road. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing through the remote and online measures above on Thursday, February 3rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. on the application of Colin and Judy McKinnon pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, subsection 10, for a variance under Reading zoning bylaw sections 4.5.2, 6.3, and 7.4, or under ZBL zoning bylaw section 4.5.1.1 to appeal the building commissioner's decision and issue a special permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, subsection 9, under the zoning bylaw sections 4.5.1 and 7.3.2, as may be determined by the zoning board to construct a 2-story addition along an existing non-conforming side yard setback on the non-conforming lot for the property located at 10 Plymouth Road, Assessors Map 26, Lot 99 in Reading, Massachusetts. Unless there is an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the abutters list, except to say that the abutters were notified as were the following: Select Board, Police Department, Building Department, Health Department, Engineering Division, Town Clerk, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Assessor's Office, CPDC, members and associate members of the Board of Appeals, as well as the planning boards of Wakefield, North Reading, Woburn, Linfield, Stoneham, Wilmington, Okay, and the testimony given before this board is taken under oath. So if you think that you may want to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The response is, I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. So Colin and Judy McKinnon, would you like to present?
If possible, we have an attorney with us, William Crowley, and we would like him to present for us. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay, well, good evening, members of the board. Thank you for hearing us. Two issues are presented tonight. And the first of which I think the board needs to address is the appeal of the building commissioner's determination that the applicants need a variance as opposed to a special permit. So the facts are these. The McKinnons applied for a building permit knowing well that their house is on a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. And that was actually determined by this Reading Zoning Board of Appeals way back in 1986, pursuant to Chapter 40A, Section 6. So it was determined to be, excuse me, legal. The commissioner, when in his denial, cited that the building didn't meet, particularly we're talking about the garage, the side yard setback. And in an exchange of email between Colin McKinnon and Brett Bennett on December 15 and 16 of 2021, when asked or the attention was brought to the commissioner that this is a quote unquote legal structure, non-conforming, that they should be allowed to go for a special permit. Despite that, the commissioner opined that because it is a detached garage, it is subject to different setback requirements. So that seems to run contra to Section 5.5.1.1D, which states that any accessory building or structure, including a garage, that is less than 10 feet from a principal structure on the lot shall be considered, quote, attached to, end quote, to the principal structure and shall be subject to the dimensional limits and requirements applicable to a principal structure. Now, this garage, the existing garage and house, which are constructed many, many decades ago, the garage is 8 feet, as you can see from the plan that's up on the screen right now. The garage is 8 feet from the principal structure. So therefore, under 5.5.1.1D, it follows that this should be considered attached to. Given that, it is our opinion that this board has the authority to issue a special, or here, and hopefully issue a special permit pursuant to 7.3.2. So therefore, we're challenging the building commissioner's reasoning for the denial and requirement for a variance. We hope that the board will consider this favorably, allow the petitioners to go forward on their application for a special permit. So I'll throw it back to you. I assume that you'll have to make that determination first, and then we can move forward on whichever way it's going to go, whether special permit or variance.
Thank you. Brett.
Thank you, Hillary. So just to touch on this a little bit, after this email exchange, the applicant did come in and we spoke in the office. We addressed the concerns. I mean, I probably misworded this a little bit. I am aware of the bylaw. To me, as I stated to the applicant, we're tearing down a nonconformity completely. We're not using a single part of it. We're not using the footprint of it. We're not extending the existing nonconformity. We're tearing it down. We're building a two-story structure in place of it. I mean, I told him that I think it would be better if he appealed my decision. I always feel that, 5, 6 heads are better than one. It's just my opinion that this nonconformity is getting torn down completely, getting completely removed. I mean, nothing of this nonconformity is getting used. Granted, it is getting stepped in from it. I would agree with that. I just feel that the nonconformity is going away and we're creating a new nonconformity. I completely understand this bylaw. I feel that it's meant as if you're adding in an accessory structure and it's within 10 feet, but who can interpret these zoning bylaws? So that was, I figure I'd stray on the stricter side and let the board decide what would happen. We're both in agreement that some relief is needed. I don't think this is an erroneous denial, in my opinion, where usually when we're extending a nonconformity, that nonconformity is staying. We're bringing it down the lot line a little bit. So, I think that's about it. My big sticking point is that this nonconformity is being completely demoed, not being reused, and creating a new nonconformity. That's just my opinion. So I figured we could go to the board. Like I said, I told the applicant to appeal my decision. We could discuss it here and hope for a good outcome for everybody. That's about all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. If this garage were physically attached and was rotting out completely and had to be taken down and a new structure rebuilt, we would have to get a variance? That doesn't make sense. The 5.5.1.1D makes this structure just as though it was attached. It's the new structure would be constructed further away from the sideline setback, as you can see in the plan. So it doesn't seem to me, it seems to me that it runs contrary to the intention of 5.5.1.1D when considering accessory buildings which are less than 10 feet from the principal structure.
Thank you. I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to open it to the board for comment.
I don't mind going first. I actually have a
Thank
similar.
you.
Sure, I have a similar comment to Brett, and so I'm just wondering here if we're taking away the garage and putting on a 2-story, are we changing the primary purpose of the existing nonconformity? And then again, as Brett was saying, creating a different nonconformity. I did do a little research for the case law. I need to refresh my memory here, but I do believe it's a primary purpose standard. So if you're changing it, as far as like different businesses, that would definitely be a different non-conforming use, where here we're going from storage area almost to another addition. It would seem that that changes the primary purpose, but that is my concern as of right now. And I wouldn't mind hearing more about wetlands. I know we're not discussing I know we're discussing the special permit now, but at some point I would like to hear from council about the wetlands.
Sai, I see you're on mute.
Yeah. I went all the way back and looked through some of all the documentation that was provided with this thing, and you go back to the decision that was made in 1986. And my reading of that decision was there was no variance granted at that time. What was granted at that time was the legalization of the property that existed there at that time, because there was no record of it in the town files. And so Because if there was a variance granted at that time, it's my understanding that that variance runs with the property, so it would still be in existence today. But now, getting back to the discussion about the provision of 55112, 11D. This garage that presently exists is considered attached to the house. What you're doing with this change in the property is you are taking that garage down, which is part of the house, and you're putting an addition on, which includes another garage in that same location as the previous garage. So my rationale would be that a variance would not be required and that we should be talking about a special permit here. That's my feeling at the moment, and I will withhold further comment at this time.
Alex, would you like to?
Yeah, looking into the bylaws, I guess my question is, somewhat related to what Mr. Crowley said. If the existing dwelling, so say we tear down the entire existing dwelling and then rebuilt the house, is that a variance or is that a special permit because it was an existing nonconformity? If you structurally change, the house footprint, what would that fall under?
Is that a question to someone or is it to
I mean,
them?
that's kind of the question I'm wrestling with right now. I somewhat agree that footprint where the garage is, that is changing in use, but you are putting a garage back. So it's I guess what I'm saying, I don't have a strong opinion for or against. I think there's arguments for both.
My comment, Hillary, my thinking on that question would be that if you took it all down, you put another one back in its place, that as long as you weren't creating a new nonconformity in any way, I would call it a special permit. I don't know what everyone else thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, if you could reconstruct this dwelling on the existing footprint with by right, I would believe. I mean, if this garage was demoed, it could be replaced by right as long as the gross floor area did not increase. So there's no doubt that this could be rebuilt, as is.
Right.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this does seem like a tricky case to me, and I don't know at what point we have to read into language a lot, but if you look at 7.3.2, it says that we can give a special permit to reconstruct, alter, or structurally change, and this seems like it's reconstructing and structurally changing. I don't know if that matters. And I guess the also other point is it looks like the garage isn't going to be in the exact same location, so it's a little bit different than just reconstructing. I guess I don't know. It's a matter if you move the garage 1 inch, or is it if you're moving it 8 feet, is that different than moving it not at all? So I guess my comment is this definitely seems like a difficult situation. I think that strictly by the letter, this wouldn't meet the requirement for a special permit in my opinion, but I think it's unclear and it kind of is up to interpretation a little bit.
It is a tricky one. I am of the opinion that I'm siding with Cy a little bit, how, we are, I think we are leaning more towards a special permit rather than a variance, but, should we see what the community would like to say on this? So I will open it to public comment. Raise your hand if you'd like to speak or unmute yourself. Let us know.
Hi, I'm
hi.
Cynthia Hanson. I
Hello,
live at
Cynthia.
17 Plymouth Road, diagonal from the house in question. And from our perspective, it's just a replacement of the garage. It may have more extended in the back, but from the front piece, it's going to be very similar to what we see now. And I'm aware that the next door neighbors are very comfortable with the change. So I would think a special permit would be appropriate in this case because it's a garage being replaced by a garage. It may have a little bit more on top of it, but the bottom, it seems, is quite comparable to what they have.
Thank
That's
you.
just my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Crowley, did you have something you would like to say?
Yeah, just a couple of comments for clarification. The existing use, historical use, garage. The new use, garage. They also happen to be extending, building what would, in an area what might be a breezeway, and also behind there for living space. So the principal use, however, is still going to remain a garage. They're adding living space due to for reasons you'll hear as we go forward. Their growing family and the need to take care of their aging parents and the need for space in this little 2-bedroom cave. The footprint of the proposed garage addition is, it overlaps the current footprint of the existing garage. But there's also that little hammerhead shape, or golf club shape of the existing garage, which is not going to be as close to the property line as it is right now. Where I think we need to look closely at the language here. And, you know, unfortunately, words like substantially more is so wide open to, you know, definition. What's substantial to me might not be substantial to someone else. But I suggest to you that this is not substantially changing, and is certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself to the justification for a special permit, but it all blends into the same argument, and why I think the appropriate way to go is the special permit. They have the right to change, reconstruct, extend, alter in 7.3.2, provided you allow them to under special permit. I think the real issue is, what does 5.5.1.1D really mean? When it says, if a structure is less than 10 feet away, it's attached. Is it is or is it isn't? And that's, you know, my argument is, it says it's attached, it's attached. They should have the right to move forward on a special permit and not be required to go for a variance.
Thank you. Chris Nolte.
Good evening, Chris Nolte, 35 Plymouth Road. We live a few houses down from the McKinnons. We've known the McKinnons for, I guess, close to 15 years. And just to add on to what Cindy Hanson said, you know, from looking at the plans and speaking to the McKinnons, you know, it's not really going to change much from the front of the house, from what we noticed. I think it'll be a great addition to the property. And like I said, I don't know when looking at the, you know, the bylaws and talking about the variance and the special permit, but from hearing what the board had to say about it, you know, in my opinion, you know, it would definitely fall under more of a special permit. But like I said, that's my opinion. But overall, I think it would be a great addition for the neighborhood.
Thank you. Mary McIntosh.
Hi. Can, I don't know if anyone can hear me.
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear
Thank you. I am Mary McIntosh. I live next door at 14 Plymouth Road. And the McKinnons, Colin and Judy and their family have been wonderful neighbors, and their home is impeccably kept. And I have no reservations whatsoever about the careful planning that has gone into this proposal. And we talked many times about what was going to happen and how it would happen. And I believe that they have put so much work and energy into this, doing everything just right, that they're set up for success. And I don't know why the variance issue has come up at all. It just seems to me to be a special permit question. So I hope that gets resolved and that they are able to go forward and have a wonderful addition to their home, which many other homes on the street have. And I apologize, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I'm at work and I can't comment again later. I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader and say that from what I've seen with all the work they've put into it, they should absolutely be able to go forward and follow the plan. And I hope that they will continue to be my favorite neighbors. Sorry, other neighbors.
Thank you. And it looks like we have Gordon McIntosh.
Yeah, I can't add too much more to what my wife Mary just said. We are immediate abutters to the McKinnons, and they're great neighbors. Listening to all the discussion about variance versus special permit, it does sound like a special permit to me. I'm not an attorney or I'm not on the zoning board, but listening to the arguments, which I've done, it seems like a special permit is appropriate. And I don't expect it to change our site view or anything else. I think it'll look fine, and I really appreciate all the hard work they put into this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? So I think the next step for the board is to discuss, how we resolve this variant. And now that we've heard comments from the neighbors and public, to decide, we need to figure out if we're going for a variance or a special permit. And, let's maybe chat about that a little bit.
I guess on that, I'll provide my opinion now. I agree, obviously looking at the dimensions, that this is within 10 feet of the existing house. So therefore, we're going to call it attached, and therefore it's part of the existing structure. So, I'm looking at 7.4, which says, except as provided in section 7.5, which is not applicable in this case, the reconstruction, alteration, extension, or structural change of a non-conforming building, which in my opinion, this is all one building, that results in a new non-conformity shall require determination as to whether it'll grant a variance. And what I'm going back to is that resulting in a new non-conformity, because this is part of the building and it is currently within the side yard setback. We aren't creating a new side yard setback where one doesn't exist. So I'll say I'm of the opinion now that a special permit would be the way to go.
Sai, are you unmuted to talk, or are you just unmuted?
I'm unmuted, yeah.
Yes.
As I said earlier, my strict interpretation of the bylaws as they exist today, I have to conclude, as I kind of intimated before, that I don't think a variance is required, and I think we should be acting on this one as a special permit.
Okay, Andrew, because there's only 5 of us, is it 5 of us tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we all have to vote unanimously on this?
You would need 4 out of 5 in favor if a vote were to be issued in the affirmative.
Okay. Patrick or Andrew, do you have any further comments?
Attached as well, a special permit, and that makes my question about the wetlands moot.
Andrew?
Yeah, I don't think I've got any further questions.
So I guess we need to make a finding. I mean, I'm in agreement that they already have the structure. It exists. It is attached, and we're not creating any further issues. They're actually, giving a little bit more space. But so I too am in favor of a special permit in this situation. So I guess the next step is we have to make a finding that we are going to do, like Alex just very neatly, succinctly said, so I'm gonna make him do it again.
I don't know if that was neat and succinct, but okay. So I guess I'll make a motion that for a finding that a special permit is the appropriate ruling that should be applied for case number 2202 at 10 Plymouth Road.
We are finding that 5.5.1.1D, it is within the 10-foot, so it's attached, correct?
Yeah, yes, and that the existing garage is considered attached to the building, and pull up that a new nonconformity is not being created because it is an existing structure, and therefore a variance is not applicable.
Second.
All those in favor, so we'll do a roll call. Alex?
Yes.
Cy?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
And myself, I say yes. So 500. Okay, so on to the special permit. Do we need further presentation, or what's the next step, Andrew?
If the board has any discussion on the appropriateness of the special permit being granted or not, yeah, you can totally hold that.
Okay, so we are just moving straight into discussing the special permit being granted. And so does the petitioner want to present their project?
Sure, thank you. And thank all of you for your consideration in allowing the applicants to go forward on special permit. The applicants, McKinnon's, submitted a statement in support of request for a special permit under 7.3.2 with their application packet. So I'm relying on that. I'm also relying on my long-standing friendship and knowledge of Colin and Judy and the family. And also this neighborhood, this house, as you, I'm sure, are aware, this is a typical small cape built probably in the 30s or 40s on a small lot, and Plymouth Road and the whole area surrounded by wetlands, as shown on this plan. So the McKinnons are really restricted in what they could do by virtue of the topography, the wetlands and everything. The reality, however, is they have 2 teenage boys in a 2-bedroom house. They have elderly parents, Judy's parents, that they hope to expect to bring in to care for, as many families do these days. I'm not certain of the exact square footage of living space in the house, but I don't think it's much more than 1,200 or 1,300 square feet. They really need additional living space. If you look at and the only place to go is where the garage is. The garage is also very, very old. they can't really rehabilitate that. The proper thing to do is to take it down and build a new structure. And they're doing it the right way. They've got beautiful plans. It's a Cape style house. The addition, which will be attached from the front, will look consistent with the roof line. It's going to blend right in. It's also going to blend right in with the other houses in the neighborhood. So there are a couple of things that we consider here. We've already talked about the sideline, the garage, present garage being 7.9 feet to the property line. The new structure would be 8.3. So it's close, but it's a little bit less into that 15-foot zone. But it's not going to be they're not going to go up too high. It's not going to look ridiculous in that neighborhood. It's going to blend in beautifully. Again, I swing back to the factors that this board uses to determine whether or not a special permit is appropriate, and under 7.3.2. Whether or not that change is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming building or structure. I suggest to you that it will not only be not detrimental, it'll be a vast improvement, both to this house and to the neighbors' houses. You've already heard from many of the neighbors who are in support, both of Colin and Judy, and of their proposal to add on to their home. They've been there for 17 years. Judy was raised here. They're long-standing residents of the town. They want to stay here. Given the cost of new housing in this town, for them to buy a place, if they wanted to stay in Reading, the numbers just don't line up. It would just be crazy money. The wise thing to do for them is to add on. The logical thing for them to do is to add on. This would be a nice addition, consistent with the neighborhood, and would help this family out tremendously.
Thank you. All right. So it looks like we can just, looks like Brett gets to comment.
Thank you, Hillary. I don't have much to comment. Glad it got resolved. It looks like a special permit. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So I guess the issue is resolved. I'm glad that the board discussed it, and I have no further comments.
Okay. Board members. Alex?
I need to change my name to something that starts with a Z.
You're the only one who keeps like changing on and off.
Oh,
Mute.
oh, okay. So that's the trick. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with regards to the actual project, didn't have too many questions. Driving by, it's certainly a constrained area, and looking at your plot area, it is a small lot, and you have your wetlands right there, and looks like you're pretty substantial slope to your backyard, so really limits your options to what you can do there. The only question I had in regards to the plan itself is just to confirm that we're going to meet the height requirements. I didn't see the height dimension on the plans, so I was wondering if you have that information available.
That was one of my questions as well. There's minimal dimensional information.
So we have with us on screen Timothy Sheehan as our architect. He might be able to answer your question for you.
Yeah, we'll be at 25 feet to the ridge, and just let me measure it. And the midpoint of that new gable will be, which was this measured to? The midpoint of the new gable will be, sorry, 1 second. 22 and a half feet, so we'll meet the height requirements.
Yeah, thank you both. Yeah, no further comments really. Seems like your neighbors support this as well. So I would note that as well. And generally have no concerns with this. Thank you.
I'll go with another A name. Andrew, do you have any notes?
Oh, yeah, it seems like nice that you're moving the nonconformity back, and looks like it's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Sai, would you like to make a comment?
I think it's quite straightforward. You know, you're not creating any new nonconformity. In fact, you're reducing the existing nonconformity a little on the side yard and in the rear. So I think it's very, very straightforward, and I don't see any problem.
Patrick?
Nothing much. You addressed my original concerns about the garage being the only nonconformity. So nothing further.
Is there an, Andrea, we talked or you mentioned something about the Conservation Commission has made notes on the plan. They have reviewed it.
Yep, this plan matches exactly what was seen by Conservation, so he felt that there was no additional comments that he had.
Okay, and this was originally reviewed, I think you said in August?
In August, yep.
I tried to watch the, but I was stuck in meetings all day, so I couldn't get through it. Okay. I agree with my board members as well that, you know, this is pretty straightforward, but we need to open it to public comment. So at this time, we'll take comments from the public regarding the special permit. If there's any further to add, please just raise your hand and we'll call on you. Seeing none, we'll close this public comment portion. And any further comments from the board? Somebody want to make a motion, please?
Okay, since I'm warmed up,
Thank you.
I'll stumble through this one too.
Perfect.
Okay, let me get all my information up here in the script. Okay, I move to grant the petitioners Colin and Judy McKinnon a special permit under zoning bylaw sections 4.5.1 and 7.3.2 of the zoning bylaws to construct a two-story addition on their constructed two-story addition with a non-conforming side yard setback on the non-conforming lot for the property at 10 Plymouth Road in Reading, Mass, as shown on the certified plot plan prepared by Scott Serrato, a professional land surveyor licensed in Massachusetts, and that plot plan is signed and dated December 9th, 2021. And also shown on the architectural plans. Bear with me as I find those. I'll take an assistive. There we go. Okay, it's the architectural plans prepared by Timothy Sheehan Design of 9 Wall Street, Charlestown, Mass. And those plans are numbered A4, A5. And they will be subject to the following conditions, which are standard. I'll read them quickly. Petitioners shall submit to the building inspector the certified plot plan of the proposed construction and proposed foundation plans prior to the issuance of a foundation permit for the work. the petitioner's final construction plans for the new structure shall be submitted to the building inspector along with the as-built foundation plans prior to the issuance of a building permit. And as-built plans showing the completed construction shall be submitted to the building inspector immediately after the work is completed and prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Great. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Patrick seconds. Okay, roll call vote. Start with Alex.
Yes.
Cy.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
And I, Hillary, vote yes. So it's 5-0-0. Thank you.
Great, same as last, Colin and Judy, I will get you that decision as soon as we can. Coordinate with Hillary on the stamp plans and all that, and get back to you once that's available.
Right. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's all I have on my agenda. Are there any further items?
If you want a few planning updates,
Yes,
for
please.
those interested, so the CPDC had been working on the downtown smart growth 40R bylaw amendments. At their last hearing, those seem to have been nearly completed, and we have sent them to both DHCD and Town Council for review in hopes of getting that bylaw amendment to April town meeting. There's quite a lot in there, from definition additions to setback requirements, open space requirements, and even waiver requirements based on tiers of waiver of density based on these 40R projects. So, you know, we'll await some comment on that from the state departments and town council, but we're hopeful that that moves forward, and we found a creative solution that works for the community without also infringing too much on development. Second, the Downtown Parking Committee, which held its public forum last night, had over 80 attendees. And for those who don't know, they're working on proposing some modifications to some of the downtown parking regulations, both on street and in the public parking lots. They'll look to add some additional employee spaces on street, and then actually paid kiosks in both the upper CVS lot and Brandy Court lot. So some of those proposals, most of those, if not all of those proposals, will be discussed again next week and then brought to the select board for the recommendations, hopefully in March. So that date's TBD. But for those interested in that, please reach out or attend. I'm happy to explain. And
the next parking is on Monday, correct? Is that what it was?
CPDC is Monday and Park is Wednesday the 9th. So we will debrief from the public forum, and a lot of town departments will also be there to provide input on the recommendations. So should be a good discussion. Outside of that, there's a lot going on in planning. We're looking at a potential MVP grant for the Millette Soms Morgan land. We want to bring the plans to 100% design. So we are hopeful for an MVP action grant application this spring for that. We're working on the Mbta community zoning requirements, which requires multifamily in and around the train depot. There's some conflicts with our 40R, so we're hopeful that our 40R will count through all our multifamily developments so far in mixed use development, but we're working through that. Thinking of what else. I've done a million night meetings, so I'm a little tired.
You've been busy.
That's probably it from me, and I'll hang up and let you guys get ready to go.
All right, well, thank you for that update, because yeah, I've been following that. So and then I think we're kind of behind on our meeting minutes. Is this
We most likely are. I'm in charge of CPDC, Park, CBA, and a few other minutes.
Yeah.
And most of my boards is 2 of us here, and one can be typing minutes at the same time while I screen share, or vice versa. And so while I don't have that here, I'm just falling a little bit behind, but as
Okay.
soon as we slow down a bit, I will try to get those done during the day.
Just
Okay, yep, that's fine, just for
planning
clerical
purposes.
purposes.
Yep.
The following 2 meetings after that, I will be unavailable if there are applications on March 3rd and March 17th.
Jot that down.
March 17th, if we can still do it via Zoom, I will have to be via Zoom.
Okay. Thank you for the well in advance heads up.
Andrew, I don't know if this is too far in advance, but I'm away April 20th to May 2nd. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I gave him my holiday
Okay.
travel too.
Nope, that's super helpful. I'll throw that down on the docket just so we can plan for that just in case. Thank you. I hope to plan one soon. So,
All right. Andrew, do you want to make an motion for us to adjourn?
Yes, move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Everyone
alrighty.
raised their hand.
Thank you guys. Be safe in the ice tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Good
see
night.
you. Stay
Bye.
safe.
All right.